All right, so
To start off, yeah, it was kind of we lost to Louisiana. It was the Notre Dame game too, so we haven't been played good in a long time. It felt like, and then we came out the gates really slow too, and so did TCU.
yeah, both teams look really bad. The first quarter was awful.
TCU had 3 or 4 games canceled on them because of COVID. So this was their opening game.
Mm-hmm.
Max Duggan in the offseason, like one of the positive things about the heart scan, he had to have surgery, and he got that fixed up. Came in the second half, and he really lit it up because there's really nothing to talk about in the first half.
No, I mean, the first quarter was awful. Jaquan Bailey had a hell of a first half, 3 sacks, but
Yeah, broke the record for all-time
Yep.
sacks leader in Iowa State history. Yeah,
which was cool. But I mean, offense is still, I mean, 2 weeks prior when we played Louisiana, Brock looked off. Brock still looked off. Timing was off. I think, again, it was just product of not having fall camp. And I think, honestly, the only thing to talk about in the first half was Reese's first carry didn't happen until the second quarter.
yeah, second quarter.
So, again, it's hard to, it's obviously what we know now is, Brees is one of the best running backs in the country. But at this point, we really didn't know that yet. Because, I mean, he had a good game against Louisiana, but he, I mean, wasn't the guy. He wasn't our every down back. Johnny Lang was still getting carries. So I think that this game really is kind of what helped kind of shape our scheme for the rest of the year. Was we're going to rely on Brees. Brees is kind of the foundation of our offense, and then we'll just everything kind of played off that. But even the offensive line wasn't clicking yet.
No,
TCU was getting pressure. The holes weren't very big. We still didn't look ready to go, but neither did TCU. Like you said, they had games canceled too. So it was just a very not fun game to watch for most of it.
Yeah, it was their first game. We looked really bad. You could tell the practices were really off. The offensive line really didn't click at all. Like you said, we lost Downing.
Mm-hmm.
There were players we probably didn't know will play. Simmons started playing, and then our offensive line started clicking at times, and then at times, Breeze would break out long runs.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Kohler's first game too. Xavier's had a really rough first game, but he started getting catches and his rhythm back. Our defense played really well.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was up and down. For most of the part, they played really well. There was times TCU kind of got. I mean, we let up 34 points, which if you go back and look at the year, we let up 30 points or more in the first 3 games, and then didn't the rest of the year. But there was times where you shot flashes where Hasheem Young really showed that he is going to run as fast as possible until he makes contact with another human.
Yeah,
he had a few hits that were just
comes out of the screen, just nails people.
I know it's crazy. The play, he's not even on frame, and all of a sudden he's the one making the tackle. But yeah, so I think the defense was awesome. We're Will McDonald podcast.
Yeah.
Just every time he's on the field, I feel that's the only player I watch, and every single time, even if he doesn't get a sack, he takes one step and just runs by the tackle.
Because every time you watch him, he's oh, he didn't get it there because they held him the whole time.
Yeah,
it's oh, he gets blows by him because he's so faster than the offensive lineman, way faster.
Yeah,
and just gets the backfield. This was that game where wow, Jaquan Bailey was back from his injury.
Yeah,
he played out, he showed out, and then they came on the field at the same time. The third downs, man, it was really hard. Those are really tough. I'd hate to be a quarterback on the third down.
Yeah,
when those 2 guys are coming at you, and he played really good too.
Yeah, no, I feel the last 3 years is just a guy that does not get enough love. He is so disciplined. I feel he's never out of position. He's really physical. He's really big, and the plays that Will and Jaquan make are what because of the work Ennie does. He takes on 2 blocks almost every play. It's kind of like Ray Lima did, but I think Ennie does it to a little bit better level. And yeah, he's just. I think that's one player this year. You'll just all of a sudden appreciate Ennie's still here, and he's still just kind of the foundation and the backbone of our defense, where he allows our linebackers to make the reads that they need to do, and makes lanes for the safeties to come up and make hits and tackle ball carries. So I think he's just probably top 3 people that are underappreciated.
Yeah, and Isaiah Lee played pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
Orion Vance.
yeah, these guys are just really good, and but another thing with TCU is like TCU's defense is also really good,
Really
like,
athletic.
They're super athletic. Like they always give our offensive line problems, and that was evident for most of the game until Brees broke a few really big runs. But aside from that, like Brees wasn't rattling off 6-7 yard like it was 1-2 yards, and
Yeah.
That was about it. So
And then Kene in the third quarter comes in. His first carry breaks out like a 55-yard run for touchdown, and which is nuts because like looking back on it, like wow, like if he didn't have David and Brees, like he could have been like looking back on Iowa State teams in the past, like him to get drafted before Chuba Hubbard
that's crazy.
is absolutely nuts.
Yeah,
And
no,
he was a big part of the season.
yeah, Kenny was awesome. Yeah, again, like he had a couple carries, but one of them was a 6-yard touchdown. So
And
it was
what he does on special teams, and there's really nothing really that much special about this game.
no, and yeah, it was. I don't know, like I feel like last year was so exciting. Like you could watch almost every single game, especially like the end of the year when we were clicking so well. Like I've watched those games like over and over and over. This is one of those games that just I think was a product of COVID and the weird practices. But again, this was a game that 5 years ago we don't win.
Yeah,
We're like we played well enough to win, but like down the stretch, we make a few mistakes and then they end up losing. But watching the game, like third quarter, like it was pretty much in control. Like we lit up some big plays. They were always within a score until the fourth quarter, and then Mike Rose's interception was
one of the best defensive, most impressive defensive plays. Like looking back on it, wow, his fingertips.
Like when it touches the receiver's hands, he's like 7 yards away.
Yeah, like the instinct he had to catch that. Wow.
Which even John Walters like didn't think he caught it.
Yeah, because we watched the Cyclone Express version of this, and that version is way better than the TV version.
If you're an Iowa State fan wanting to rewatch games, just go to cyclones.tv and like
they have it all cut up for you.
And with John and Eric calling it, I hope a day where we can just watch games live on TV and have John and Eric call. That'd be pretty awesome.
Like I'd pay an extra fee like to just have them call for college and basketball, like football and basketball.
That play was insane. But it was crazy. Like Mike knew he caught it, and everyone around Mike knew he caught it too. Like Sheemak starts running the other way, like pointing that we got it, and it was
which would have sucked if they called it like hit the ground because I don't think there was enough video evidence that said that. I don't. Maybe there was, but like being Iowa State fans, we don't like to put that up in their hands. And man, that was special.
But but then that led to a Brees 35-yard touchdown. Then we were up 9, and there was like 2 minutes left. Like okay, the game's over. Like because before that interception, like we were only up 2.
Yeah, they
could have marched on the field and kicked the field goal, and now all of a sudden we have to drive down the field to score to win.
Such a defeating couple events there that led us to win that game.
And then they'd go down and marched on the field and scored a touchdown with 0 seconds left.
I don't think I bet on that game, which
I feel like we weren't favored though, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That was weird.
Those was one of those bad beats where like those plays didn't matter, and like they didn't like play. They had a ton of muffed, spiked balls. Like they had no reason to score, and they just like threw it up in double coverage and like end up coming down with it.
They celebrate like the game's over and
train horns going on.
But
I think
the thing we haven't talked about yet was like in the second quarter we just scored, and then Jaquan Bailey gets a strip sack, and we score again, and then we get the ball the second. I mean, they go down and like almost have a Hail Mary touchdown, and then we get the ball starting the second half, and then the Purdy
infamous play.
That's like the Purdy bump fumble. Was which would have been
rewatching is
really bad, but I'll take that for every 30 good things, 30 million things that Purdy does good.
It's hard to criticize. It's hard to criticize anything Brock does with everything he's given us.
Picking us over Alabama,
pretty nice,
pretty good.
But yeah, I don't know. Again, there's just not much going on with this game. This was kind of, but if you think back, like this time, like we didn't know that we were a top 10 team. No. Like we were like, oh shit, like we need to like make a bowl game. Like we started 0-1, and like the Big 12 is a gauntlet. So like there's games you could lose any week. But yeah, it was definitely like especially on the road. Like obviously with COVID, the road was different, but just to like grind that one out, and then obviously the next week will be a little more fun podcast to listen to.
That's for sure. And like during that week, Oklahoma loses to Kansas State
right.
like 11 a.m. and we're like, wow, that's a winnable game.
Right.
Because before the TCU game, we're like, wow, that could be a tough one.
Right. Because if we don't beat TCU, we go play Oklahoma next, like 0-3.
Yeah.
Pretty reasonably.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously things went our way, and then the next week we'll talk about later. But yeah, it's because after Oklahoma lost, like, oh, like we could win the Big 12. Like Oklahoma has to come to Ames. Like,
yeah, it was such a weird flip.
Yeah.
Like the switch of the momentum and like excitement of the stadium.
Especially exactly. Like Louisiana, obviously like lowest of low. Like, how are we here again?
I think the Louisiana game, what made it hurt so bad was like the Notre Dame game the year before. Like we just got her killed. Like it kind of like set us back to reality. Like as a fan, like, oh, maybe I should manage my expectations going forward. But and then this game, there's a few like we're saying it's boring, but like the pieces are there. Like we didn't really know who Shane Young was, and he was like showed out. Skates had a good long touch, not a touchdown, but a long throw.
Yeah. Again, Skates' ceiling is
so high, man. I'd really love for that guy to show out next year.
Figure it out and put it all together. And I think if it's going to happen, it's this year. And I think. And
then Daniel Jackson had a touchdown too, or not a touchdown.
A good catch though.
Good catch, and then Darren Wilson had a touchdown.
Yeah,
like we have our receiving core is deeper than we think.
Yep. Yeah, for sure, and. I don't know. It's just every year, like you get a new group of young guys, then all of a sudden there's like a young guy in the field. Like you look up his number in the program, you're like, oh crap, like he's also really good. So
like the way I shape it up to was the West Virginia game, like David's year. Ray Lima had a concussion before the game. Just like I didn't know he was gonna play, and I was like, oh, we're gonna lose. And then we play the game, and we didn't notice because Isaiah Lee
was a true
freshman, and showed out, and it was like, wow. Maybe
McDonald played the game too.
Yeah, and I was like, maybe I should rethink, because like back then, like when defensive lineman goes out back then, it was over because like they just run the ball
to that side every time.
They'd run 12 yards every play.
Yeah,
but it's switched, and we can do a podcast on that game. That game,
oh
man, the best to this day, the best like atmosphere and the tailgating before the game.
Oh, unbelievable. Awesome. Unbelievable.
First time we wore the black uniforms too.
Yep.
And yeah, it was a special night. That was fun. And I don't know really how like this game, really boring. We missed the extra point.
Yeah, I know. And like even like which is so wild, like rewatching a game, I know we won. Like I still hold my breath after every extra point. I'm like, I can't remember which ones we missed. So I think we were talking earlier, like the first touchback is gonna Jack Trice is gonna erupt.
They're gonna storm the field.
Yeah, no, I don't know. We're just 1 week closer to the season. Now next week will be 10 weeks away, and it's gonna be before we know it. So obviously it's fun just rewatching every game. It's like we have the same team.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that guy's coming back. Eisworth, 3-year first team Big 12
He's coming back.
He's coming back. Anthony Johnson coming back. And then
Mike Rose, Brock Purdy, Brees,
Ryan Vance,
a good offensive line.
Yeah, and our offensive line didn't really click this game, but when they did, it obviously led to long runs, touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean this is Daryl Simmons' first game, so like, and at the end of the year, like, arguably one of our best linemen. Yeah. He was a freshman last year, so that's just gonna be fun. Like, especially with like linemen, like the more you're in college, the more you put weight on and really learn how to be effective. And I think that's just something that's gonna be really, really fun.
And this was before even who's the guard who got Remsburg. This was before he even played.
He's also like one of our best linemen.
Yeah, man, and yeah.
So I mean, you can literally just go through a roster every day and like, oh, like there's good people everywhere. So.
Yeah. Have positive things to say about basically every player coming back.
It's pretty awesome.
And it's something that's gets me jacked about every day. I think about that. And tailgating, I can tailgating in. We got our tickets all lined up
Yep.
for next year.
We're ready to go.
We got quite the crew. We got, what was it, Section M?
Section M in the corner.
Yeah, if you're in Section M, we're gonna have a pretty sick section. So
It's gonna be awesome. Yeah. So again, this is a short one. It's a fun game because we won. Aside from that, it's not a fun game. So rewatch it. You just see the glimpses of what Brees can do, like his breaking long runs. We didn't obviously know that's something he was consistently going to do, but yeah, it was a really good like foreshadowing for the rest of the year. But it was just like we hadn't figured it out yet, and then obviously we'll talk about.
It almost like looked
next
like
week.
a game that wasn't even televised.
Right. Yeah. It was
Like,
just kind of weird. It was like no one really remembers specific plays aside from like Brees's long run or like Brock's horrible interception. Like
And Mike Rose's interception.
it feels like kind of a
honestly.
dream. Like
Yeah, like like how like in basketball, like the secret scrimmages.
right.
Like it kind of felt like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, obviously this game gets buried because of what's coming up.
Yep. Which we'll release next week, and obviously, I'm sure many of you have rewatched that game. Rewatch it again next week. Listen to what we have to say. It'll be a good time. But yeah, again, we're just trying to break down each game just to help time pass along to the season. So, also, I know a lot of you, obviously, everyone listening follows us on Twitter. The form for merch is on Twitter.
Yep.
Just click it. It'll get all your information to Thomas. He'll get you your shirts and hats. The shirts are obviously super sick. The hats are really cool. We have orders coming in to restock everything. So if you have any questions, DM our Twitter, and we'll get the things to you. And we'll, again, 11 weeks. We'll see you.
Yeah, I got a pretty big interview coming up too this week, which I'm pretty damn pumped about too.
Someone that was really good at catching passes.
And one of my favorite, like childhood.
A couple big interviews coming up in the next couple weeks. So
just stay tuned to that, and really appreciate you guys listening, and go Clones.
Go Clones.